Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. And today we're diving deeper into one of the most mysterious systems ever introduced into the game. Realm skills. Now if you caught our previous video, you already know the basics. You understand where these skills live, how they are leveled, and most importantly, that they are completely separate from your standard Hero Wars battles. But today, we move forward. Today, we start uncovering what these skills actually mean in practice. Because theory is one thing, but understanding how this translates into power, that's where the real game begins. And remember this, Guardians. Everything we're about to talk about is still early. The system is fresh, the meta is not defined, and most importantly, we are still missing the PvP element that could completely change everything. But even so, there are already clues, patterns, hints of what could become powerful, and what might fall flat. So let's step into it. If you're playing Hero Wars Alliance on Android, the special offer on Huawei AppGallery is a great way to get extra value from your in-game purchases. From March 1st to April 1st, 2026, you can earn 20% rewards on eligible purchases. For every €1 or equivalent you spend, you receive reward value through exclusive reward coupons. These rewards can be redeemed for limited time coupons available during the event. The more you play and spend, the more value you unlock, helping you save on future purchases. Rewards are not granted when using Huawei points, and only the cash amount spent counts toward rewards. To join, simply download Hero Wars Alliance through Huawei AppGallery. Your game progress is completely safe. Just sign in and continue playing. This is a limited time event, so don't miss it. Let's start with Folio. Now Folio is already a monster in standard gameplay, but here in Realm, things feel a little different. His first skill brings a very specific type of defense, reducing damage taken from enemy spearmen. And straight away, you can feel it. This is situational. This is not something that will always be active, not something that will always give value. It depends entirely on what you are facing. And that's the first lesson of Realm skills. Specialization. His second skill feels much more aligned with what we expect from a damage-oriented hero. A chance for your troops to critically strike and deal increased damage. Now this sounds powerful. And it can be. But there is always that risk with crit mechanics. It's not guaranteed. It's explosive when it works, but unreliable when it doesn't. So with Folio, we're already seeing a split. One skill that is very niche, and another that has potential, but comes with risk. And because of that, it's hard to call him a must-invest hero for Realm. At least for now. But then, we move to Iris. And Iris follows a very similar pattern, but with her own twist. Her first skill again brings that defensive approach, this time reducing damage from marksmen. So once again, we're locked into a specific matchup. Strong in the right scenario, but completely irrelevant in others. And then her second skill. Now this is interesting. It boosts your marksman, giving them a chance to deal increased damage. So now we're starting to see a theme. Iris is clearly built around supporting a specific troop type. And that could become very important later. Because if Realm evolves into a system where troop specialization matters, heroes like Iris could suddenly become extremely valuable. But right now, without PvP, without defined matchups, it's still a question mark. And that brings us to someone much more exciting. Zesha? Now this is where things start to change. Because unlike the previous heroes, Zesha does not care about troop type. She doesn't care if you're running infantry, spearman, or marksman. She buffs everything. Her first skill increases the attack of all your troops. Simple. Clean. Effective. No conditions, no restrictions. Just raw power. And her second skill. Again. For all troops. A chance to crit. And this is where you start to feel it. This is where realm skills begin to show their potential. Because flexibility is power. You don't need to think about composition. You don't need to adjust your strategy every time. Zesha fits into everything. And that makes her incredibly valuable already. And there's more. Because she's already part of one of the strongest realm compositions right now. That means you're not just investing blindly. You're investing into something you're already using. And that is what makes her stand out. Now from there, we shift into a different role. Kayla. A warrior. Aggressive. Direct. And her realm skills reflect that. Both of her abilities focus on infantry. Increasing crit chance. Increasing damage against specific troop types. And again. We're back to specialization. And here's the thing. This could become very strong. But only under the right conditions. Only if infantry becomes a dominant force. Or if certain matchups become predictable. Right now, it feels narrow. It feels limited. But in the future, this could change completely. And that's the theme of Realm. What looks average today could become meta tomorrow. And finally, we arrive at Julius. Now this is where things get interesting again. Because Julius brings something very different. Stability. Protection. Reliability. Both of his skills affect all troops. No conditions. No restrictions. And that already puts him in a strong position. His first skill increases defense across your entire army. And that might not sound flashy. But in longer fights, in sustained battles, that value builds up quickly. And then his second skill. Absorbing damage dealt to your troops. This is huge. Because survivability is often what decides fights. Especially when things get more competitive. So while others bring damage, Julius brings control over the flow of battle. And that could become incredibly important when PvP arrives. So stepping back and looking at everything, what do we see? We see two clear paths. On one side, heroes that are specialized. Powerful in the right situation. But limited. And on the other side, heroes that are flexible. Always useful. Always contributing. And if there's one thing experience tells us, it's that flexibility tends to win in the long run. But again, this is only the beginning. We don't have PvP yet. We don't have full data. We don't know how players will adapt, how strategies will evolve, or how important troop composition will truly become. So for now, patience is key. Do not rush your resources. Do not blindly upgrade everything. Watch. Learn. Adapt. Because when PvP finally arrives, that's when the real meta will be born. So Guardians, now it's your turn. What are you seeing so far? Which heroes feel strong to you? Which ones feel underwhelming? And most importantly, what are you planning to invest in? Drop it down in the comments. Because this is one of those systems where the community will figure it out together. And don't worry. We're just getting started. More heroes are coming. More analysis is coming. And we're going to break it all down. Step by step. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and as always, salute and friendship. _